Hi guys, sorry I have been away from the channel for so long. That is due to my moving. Originally, we were filming in New York, and now we are down in Florida. So it took a while for us to get everything settled and established. So we're back. So tonight for you, what I'm going to be doing is a Dominican rice dish and some chorizo. So most of everything here that we have is for the rice. We're going to be using onions and peppers. If you want to use fresh, you can. I prefer using the frozen just because it's a lot easier, it's a lot simpler, it's a bit more convenient to just have the frozen and use it whenever you need. We're going to be using some garlic. What we're going to be adding as well is some green pigeon peas and the seasoning, the Goya Sazon. That one I prefer for this, and obviously some rice. That's going to be our base for that. We also are going to need some oil for it. And then for our chorizo, we're going to leave it as is. We're going to cut it up into small pieces in a little bit of oil, and we're going to fry it. So we're going to be using about a medium-sized pan for our rice to get started with. This was also a change for us, now I'm using an electric stove. The other one was a gas stove, so this one's a little different. So based on your stove, you can change your temperatures around. I just want to heat up my pan, so for now I'm just going to put it on about a 4 or so I can start cooking all the vegetables. So if you're using the fresh version of onions and peppers, and even the garlic if you wanted to, you could use fresh. With the peppers, make sure you wash them first. With the onions, just take off all the outer layers. I prefer for this one not like ringlets or half rings. It's better to be a smaller chop, so this way it kind of blends in with the rice better. And the same thing with the peppers, smaller dice is better. The garlic being minced is also the best that I've also used. You can use whatever rice honestly that you want. I'm using a plain white rice just because that's what I've always used, but you're more than welcome to choose a different rice, and let me know how that changes the taste or the texture of it, or if it tastes better with a different rice. So the pan is all warmed up. What we're going to start with is our onions. If you have it frozen, make sure you break them up a little bit so you're not ending up with giant chunks in your pan for a while. Like I have. And honestly also, as much in your there as you want with the onions. So you can add the whole bag, part of the bag, however much you want to add. And the same thing with the peppers. This recipe was kind of just handed down to me from a friend, and no real specifics given just because of kind of the way that she was taught. So add how much or how little as you want. This is what we have so far. It's just the onions and peppers are in there. We're going to let that cook for a little bit, let them defrost, let some of that liquid come out. Then we're going to add the garlic, the oil, and then the seasoning in that order, so that way the oil helps the seasoning coat everybody and stick to everything. The cooking time for fresh onions and peppers is going to be different to the frozen. The frozen are going to be, it's going to be a little bit slower because they have to defrost and thaw first in the pan. I usually don't take them out too early and let them defrost. I can just kind of throw them in the pan at once. But if you are using fresh, it's going to go a lot quicker. So just make sure that you're watching it so the onions don't get burned and the peppers don't get burned, or they go too far and they become too mushy too soon. So we have turned up the heat a little bit. So now everybody's cooking. Some of the water has come out. So you can see the difference from when we started to now. That liquid has come out. We're going to let that cook off a bit because it's been frozen. So we're going to let those keep cooking a little bit more until everybody gets soft. then we're going to add the garlic. Okay, so now that it's cooked a bit more, I usually just take a spoonful or two of garlic and add it. This is another thing of taste. If you're not a huge garlic fan, you can put in very little. If you prefer more, you can put in more. We're going to mix that up and let that cook just a little bit. And the next thing that we will be adding is the oil. This is another thing that goes by mostly by eye. I believe the first time she told me, I think it was 1/4 of a cup of oil. It's like, it doesn't make it too oily. So if you add a little bit over 1/4 of a cup, it's fine. If you want to add a little under, that'll also be fine. It's just mostly just for the cooking process. So a little or a lot, either way, it still turns out good. So we're going to take our 1/4 of a cup. There you go. And we're going to put in 1/4 of a cup of oil. And I'm going to show you guys, it's not that much that honestly goes in. It is. That's what it looks like with the oil added in. So there's not a lot that goes in, so 1/4 of a cup is the perfect amount. So now that all of that is added, we're going to take our 2 packs. I always put in 2. It adds a nice level of seasoning, a little bit of salt, just the right amount of seasoning in there. It's the perfect design. So this is based on the flesh. We're going to mix all that together. We're going to let this cook just for a few minutes. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add our water and let that come to a boil. So the way I'm going to teach you to do rice is the way that I was always taught. If you were taught a different way to do your rice and you prefer to do it that way, do your own way, and then you could always add this to it and let it sit and cook together for a while. And now we're going to take 3 cups of water and we're going to let this come to a boil in the same pan that we did the onions, the peppers, the garlic, the oil, and the seasoning. So we're going to put all that in. And we're going to let those 3 cups of water with everything in there come back up to a boil. So then we can add the rice and the pigeon peas. I've done it different ways, including putting the pigeon peas in when I did the water. It depends, I think, on how soft that you want them. If you don't want them too soft, you can add them in with the rice. You can add them in before if you want them a little softer. But either way, it works. And with the green pigeon peas, when you open the can, you're going to want to drain them and rinse them. We don't want any of that liquid. We don't want any of that salt that's in here. We just want the beans. So the best way to do that is to drain them and then rinse them and have them ready to go. So when the water comes to a boil and we add the rice, we can add the peas after. So that is the kind of boil we want to see. Now we're going to get ready to add our cup of rice. So that's the way I've been taught to do rice, is 3 cups of water, 1 cup of rice. But I always add a little bit of extra rice because I think that it just makes a bit of a difference, that the amount it makes, and it also helps absorb any extra liquid. So I use the exact same cup measurement that I used for the water to do 1 cup of rice. So that goes in, and then I always do a little extra. I would say probably about 1/4 to 2/3 of a cup that I add a little extra of, because there is a lot of liquid, especially if we're using the frozen peppers and onions. There is going to be some extra liquid. So I always like to add a little bit of extra rice to help make it not so liquidy, but to help absorb some more of that liquid that's coming out of everybody when you're cooking it. So now that our rice is in, we are going to take our drained and rinsed peas and we're going to put them in. Everybody's in, give that a stir around. And now I'm going to leave it on a higher heat for a little while. And then what I'm going to do is when it's closer to being done, is I'm going to reduce the heat and I'm going to cover it so it finishes absorbing it on a very, very low heat. This way it doesn't burn and you don't have it absorbing the liquid faster, then it can actually make it soft enough and then you'll end up with crunchy rice. We don't want that. So now we're going to get to work on our chorizo. The reason why I'm doing this after the rice mixture is because this will not take as long to cook because they've already been cooked. They just need to be heated for it. So if we were to do this before the rice, you'd either end up with it being cold or them being burnt. And you don't want that either. So we're going to get our pan warming up while our rice is cooking away in the background. And you can use any kind of chorizo you like. If you like it spicier or mild, I'm using this one. This one is not as spicy. Sorry, I couldn't find the camera. This one is not as spicy, so we can use this. And we're going to cut these up into little pieces, so that way when you mix it with the rice, you get a little bit of meat and a little bit of rice. So some of these come in casings where you can't really cook it. So just be careful with it being soft. If you decide that you want to kind of just make little patties out of it, or you want to change it up and just cook it free, you can. We're going to try and make this one work. I thought this was a different one. So we're going to make this work best as we can to get it fried up. So if you bought ones that are in a casing that you can't cook, the best way to do it is to pinch it from the bottom. And we're just going to, from the bottom, slide it out in one long tube. Leave that off to the side. And then just do your best to get it into little pieces. You can always kind of reshape it, reform it to how you want it to look. And if it comes too loose, it comes too loose. You can just still kind of form a little patty of sorts to use it. And then from here, now that our pan is warmed up, we're going to add only a little bit of oil because this meat is going to have oil. So as it cooks, it will release that. So we don't want to add too much. We don't want this swimming in grease. We want it just to fry up nice and soft. Not really soft. You want to fry it up nicely without too much grease. So because this meat is a bit more raw than I was expecting, before you add the oil, after touching this, wash your hands. Soap and water. Make sure you don't cross-contaminate anything. You have to do that with all meat that is not cooked or smoked. And most of the liquid is gone out of the rice. We have it on a higher heat right now. So what I'm going to do is drop down heat and cover it. This part of the temperature also depends on your stove. I have it more on a low setting. If yours has a warm zone, you can always leave it there and let it finish cooking. Mine does too. But I prefer to do it on a low heat and let it, at this point, just kind of steam slightly with all the liquid that's in there. Let it finish cooking for a bit and it won't stick to the bottom. You'll have nice rice. With the pieces that I do have cut up, I'm going to only take a small amount of oil, very little, and get that going in the pan. A small amount, because like I said, this meat is going to produce its own grease, so we don't want it to be too much oil in the pan. So now we're done cutting up the meat. I'm leaving one hand dirty just to deal with the meat. The other hand has not touched it, so I can swirl my pan around if need be. So we're just going to take it, and you can slightly reshape it to look like a little patty. And we're going to pop that in there. And we're going to let these cook. And we're going to leave them alone because these are a lot softer than I was expecting. So sometimes it's what you have to do. You have to change around your idea with the ingredients that you have. So don't panic. Just work with it. It'll be okay. Sometimes this happens. And you never know, you might end up finding that you prefer... I'm talking, Mr. Clark. You might find that you prefer this to what you were previously using. Or you may say, I don't prefer this at all. But try new things. Try different recipes. Maybe change them around a little bit. No, Mr. Clark, you can't have them. And it's okay if it doesn't turn out the way that you thought it would be and it doesn't stay in the patty form. You can always make it a little bit more of just kind of a scramble. So that way it's just small pieces that you have instead. And make it work. It'll be okay. So this is why I was saying don't add too much oil. As you can see, the meat has at least quite a bit already. So we don't want to add too much more. We want to let them kind of cook in their own juices. And at the same time, not over fry them in too much oil. And now we're over here by our rice. We're going to check on it. Everybody's doing nicely. We're cooking. Nothing is sticking to the bottom of the pan. Somebody's over it. Yes, that's the bottom of the pan. But that's okay. It makes it taste better. It's all good. So those bits of rice that have gotten stuck to the bottom, that's the okay crunchy bit. There's quite a few people who like that, and I think it adds a nice texture to the rice. So if it does get a little stuck to the bottom and browns a bit, it's not ruined. Don't throw it away. It's fine. So don't worry, you didn't mess up. It's just a little darker, but it'll be fine. It'll still taste good. So when the rice is at the stage where it's at right now, I tasted it. It's soft. It's the perfect temperature where it should be. So now the heat is off on it completely. So what we're actually going to do is we are going to fold up our little patties and make sure that they're browning up nicely. Like I said, if this doesn't work for you, you could kind of just make it look almost like chopped meat. You can still mix it into the rice later on, or leave it out for anybody to put as much as they want on top. I'm just going to flip all these guys and make sure that they are getting brown properly all over. And there's still a lot of oil coming out of it. So with these, actually, they're falling apart. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to break them up a little bit more. And just make them smaller pieces. And this is okay. It's not something wrong that you did or anything else. This is just sometimes you have to change around your ingredients and how you're going to use them. So you can still get a good cooking on all of this. But we're just going to break it up a little bit more. We are going to drain this when it's done cooking because there is going to be a lot of oil from the meat itself, and there's going to be some oil left from the oil that we put in. So we're going to drain this before we serve it, so that way you don't get too much oil. So that is essentially what I did. I just broke it up instead of having the little pieces or the patties. I just broke it up, and you can still see how much oil is coming off of that. So we're going to let that continue to brown for a bit. Right now the heat is off on the rice. It is with the cover on, letting it finish steaming a bit more. The rice is nice and soft. The beans are cooked. So we're just going to let that sit while this finishes up, and then we can serve. Just remember, if you do break it up into a crumble, it's going to cook quicker. So keep your eye on it if you're not leaving it in whole pieces or patties, so this way it doesn't get burned. And don't turn the heat up too high because this will pop and that will hurt. Between the oil and the meat, that hurts. So don't leave the heat too high. We want to keep it at a decent temperature so everybody cooks without going to the point of burning, but also to the point where it's not popping and hurting you. So we don't want that. So just keep your eye on it. Keep it at a lower temperature, not too low, but don't make it too high either. Otherwise, that will hurt with all the popping that's going on. So just be careful. So now it is done. Turn your heat off, especially if you have a gas burner. We're gonna take it from our pan. I have 2 paper plates and 4 small pieces of paper towel. And we're gonna drain this, because as you can see, there's a lot of grease in there. So when it comes to any kind of meat, you wanna drain it before you either add it in or use it. It will let out a lot of oil. And this one is a pork-based chorizo. So we're just gonna spread that out so all of that oil gets absorbed. And you can kind of break it up a little bit more. And we're almost ready. So that's what the chorizo looks like right now. I finished letting it crumble and drain it. So as you can see, all that oil that came off of that, we don't want that in the food. So now we can plate up. So plating is completely up to you. If you want to do a plate, you can. I prefer with dishes like this to do a bowl. I think it makes it a little easier to mix everything together. And I'm just blotting the meat so that way whatever grease is on top or still inside of it is going to come out. So now we are going to take our rice. Grab yourself a good spoon, and we're going to do a nice size helping on the bottom. You can either flatten it out, leave it a little bit higher, whatever you would like. Now, with the same spoon, we're just going to take a small amount of chorizo. Now, this is something if you're serving other people, you can let them choose how much they want to put on top. Or if you're doing, you have so much, so you want to do the portioning out, you can. But this is also something you can have the people do on their own. So then we're just going to put that on top. And do it that way. So when it mixes in, you get a little bit of meat, you get a little bit of rice and beans, rice and pigeon peas, I should say. And there's part of it. Next comes the toppings. So this is something you can put on. We can do some sour cream. And I always prefer the Mexican 4-blend cheese with this. This is also something you can let everybody put on as much as they want. But just to give you guys an idea, is, a decent sized handful can go right on top. So when it mixes in, that's another little bit of a different profile that goes in. And then your sour cream, if they want it. If not, you can always leave that off to the side so everybody can choose what they want to put on top. And there you go. That's dinner. And on the side, we have a salad. And there you go. Now you have a little different creation that you can change it up. You can use chicken, you can use beef, you can use different types of pork if you want. And you can make this dish yourself at home. Make it in different ways, using different rice as well. You can use different ingredients. Let me know how that turns out if you guys decide to try it. And thank you guys for watching and joining us. See you next time.